You're listening to a Prairie Punk House Companion right here on the Prairie Punk Press Network. The views expressed by any host or any guest on the Prairie Punk House Companion are the personal views or opinions of the people who express them and do not reflect the views or opinions of anyone else on the show or any company, employer, or any other organization that the individual expressing them has or will affiliate with in the past, present, or future. Hi, everybody. You listen to a Prairie Punk House Companion. We are now on episode 31, and we are getting closer and closer to triple digits. Just 70 more episodes, or 69 more episodes, I guess.
Nice.
Nice. And we will be in the triple digits. We are on our way. My name is Neckbone.
Hi, I'm Jerbear, and yesterday I got attacked by a goose at the mall.
I'm sorry. Wasn't that
It
an
was
ICP
hilarious.
song? That was like an Insane Clown Posse song, wasn't it?
I'm unfamiliar with their oeuvre.
If you're somehow trying to get who's going chicken hunting into that,
There was a song where they ran, oh no, a pelican stole somebody's phone and they ran away. That was in
man,
I only know the Magnet song because it was a meme.
that's that
But
one. That's that same song.
Okay.
Yeah.
It turns out that Juggalos are kind of based. They're like anti-Nazi and shit, which not to judge
that's baseline. Yeah.
not to judge a book by its cover, but
Right.
like some could assume that maybe some of those people might not be the chillest, but it turns out that by and large, Juggalos are fucking rad. So
That's
thanks,
good.
Thanks, Space Juggalos.
Being anti-Nazi though should be like, I mean, that should be just
Sure.
like the baseline for decent humanity, I guess. I don't know.
Unfortunately, anyway,
yeah.
so you may have heard someone else talking with us. That is our friend Alex. And Alex has been a part of the Wichita music scene since 94 or 95, I think, something like that.
Probably before that.
Maybe. I don't know.
No,
I'm
you're
not as
accurate.
familiar with that early stuff. Alex was the singer of Oh Phil. Do you guys still perform every now and again, or is it
no, it's over.
pretty much
No.
gone? Okay.
It's
And was Monterey Jack? Was that's your
there's-
cover band, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Kinda. You still do that?
Yes,
Nice.
yes, I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't get out very much anymore. I'm old and have kids and am really boring now. But since Ophil, you have gone on to purchase several bars and venues around town, remaining a constant positive influence, in my opinion, on the Wichita music scene. That's pushing 30 years. No, it is 30 years now. So that's really impressive, man. Not to make you feel old, but you've been doing this a long time. I mean, you've helped out a lot of bands, a lot of kids getting started. I think we got one of our first shows with Ophil when we were in Uncle Scam. And all that. So yeah, it's been rad to watch you continue to kick ass and help out the Wichita music scene. So
I think the first time I saw Ophil was, I feel like it was 94. I think it was 94. I was 16 years old. So, and I wish to God I could remember where I saw you, but it was somewhere. And I was very intoxicated, and I was 16 years old. So,
Oh, are you from Winfield?
no. I grew up in East Wichita.
Okay. Yeah. Well, 94 was when we first played, for sure. But yes, it's not just the 30 years. I mean, the music scene doesn't make me feel old. My knees make me feel old. My ankles, my hip. I did turn 49 this year, so yes, I've been around for a minute.
Yeah.
So
catching
But
up, I'll be 47.
I was
All right.
47 after. I'm the youngest one here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be 47 in this summer. So,
Well, come on in. The water's fine, man. I feel okay for 49. So
Yeah, same.
I'm not too worried about it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, well, I appreciate all the kind words. That's I don't know how to explain it or whatever. It's just it all happened kind of organically
Mhm.
for me. Um, you know, I was a nerd, a theater nerd, a debate nerd in high
Mhm.
school. I did
Mhm.
musical theater.
Mhm.
I had a middle school teacher, or actually an elementary school teacher, that saw something in me from our basic choir class, and she encouraged me to take summer honors choir. And, I did that, and they wanted me to go into singers in high school, but I didn't. I went into forensics and debate, which then led me to theater, which then led me to musical theater,
Mhm.
which both those things led me to Southwestern College in Winfield, Kansas, and where I studied mass communications and I participated in theater. And um, that's when I met the guys, the first iteration of Au Phil. So,
Um, are
it's kind of wild.
are you not originally from Winfield? I
No,
always
I'm
thought you
from,
were from Winfield.
no, everyone does, but I was the one outsider. I'm from Topeka, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
I
Oh,
went to high school
wow.
in,
I didn't
yeah, I
know
went to
that.
high school in Topeka. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you still know anybody up in Topeka or from the Topeka area who has moved on to other things? We got a friend named Jeremy Kaufman who was up in Topeka. He is a punk rocker. He's my age, so it might have missed you. And I don't really know how big this scene is in Topeka, or was in the 90s. So,
It was there.
um,
I don't know if you know Coach, the guy that tattooed at Kevin, that tattooed at Hellbomb.
oh yeah,
We
yeah, yeah,
went
yeah.
we went to high school together.
Okay.
I remember back in the day he used to like walk around with big Liberty spikes
Uh-huh.
in high school.
Same.
So yeah, I mean, but I was really like I was unaware of the scene back then. I
Oh,
was
okay.
a rap and hip hop and R&B guy,
Okay.
and to be honest, like I was way into Christian music, and
Uh-huh.
like I was on a path to become like a youth pastor.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
was I was heavily involved in youth group.
Hmm.
My mom was super religious. I had a best friend. Me and him had a Christian rap group. Yeah.
Nice.
That's
We were
awesome.
called we were called the Christian Brotherhood.
Okay.
And
That doesn't
oh man,
sound
yeah,
doesn't sound
I got
threatening at all.
well, let me tell you something. Well, if you were threatening because we were two brown faces, but let me tell you a little story. And Adam is a youth pastor, my best friend,
Uh,
but both of us were on this tract and in our youth groups, we were heavily involved. And everyone thought they were like, "Oh my gosh, Alex and Adam are such like good leaders." We were so like lock and step that people would call me Adam, people call him Alex. So. But we had this thing where we were the Christian Brotherhood. We even took senior pictures together,
oh, nice.
with wearing cross colors and Africa medallions, leather Africa medallions. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It made sense at the
Dude, it
time.
was the 90s.
It was the 90s.
Mhm.
So, Spike Lee was we were hip to Spike Lee and A Better World and all that stuff. And yeah, we would take B-sides of secular songs and just rewrite the lyrics to Christian lyrics. Like, so instead
Oh,
of "You
okay.
down with OPP?" Yeah, you know me. It'd be like, "You down with God?" Yeah, you know me.
Uh-huh. Okay. So like a Kansas hip hop version of
DC
Clean
Talk,
Flicks or whatever it is.
or DC Talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember DC Talk.
So we also had, instead of "Insane in the Membrane," we had "He'll Take Away Your Pain." Anyway, that's besides the point.
I
So
mean, you could have also doubled as a Simpsons writer then too, I
Oh
feel
my
like.
gosh. I'll tell you what, man. It was like, I swear to you, we did that before Whoopi did Sister Act. I
Okay.
swear.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
swear we predate Sister Act. But we would go around and perform at church camps and stuff. And we
Mhm.
we went to a particular church camp called Super Summer, which was a Southern Baptist church camp, which is
Mhm.
extremely conservative.
Uh-huh.
For instance, when anytime past the late afternoon, the guys had to wear clothing that covered their legs, like slacks or jeans or something like that, and same with girls. Girls could not wear two-piece bathing suits to the pool, that kind of stuff. I mean, it was pretty conservative. And Adam and I are performing our hit, You're Down with God at this
Hmm.
thing. And we're sound checking, and it's like probably my first experience sound checking. And I'll just say that Adam, I could go into depth, and I have randomly when I've been drinking at Lucky's. If you catch me on the right night, I will tell you all the stories of how Adam, my best friend, has a very large package, and
Okay.
how you can tell, even though back then we wore pleated, baggy Z
Hmm.
Cavariccis.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It was the
The yeah,
90s.
yeah, but the thing was massive. It couldn't
Mhm.
hide out in some
So
Z Cavariccis.
Adam and his
What
package is what you're
Dude,
telling me.
yes. Okay, but so we're up there, and Adam, whenever he would perform, he'd be like doing the hand
Hmm.
signals, okay, and the hand signals would kind of maybe go a little low. So
Hmm.
we're
Hmm.
sound checking, and the sound guy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, come here. You gotta tell you gotta tell your buddy to stop grabbing it." I was like, "What?" He's not like the mere thought of
Uh-huh.
this 16-year-old mixed kid
Uh-huh.
grabbing at his massive chaunch sent this like conservative white sound guy into a tizzy. He was like, "We can't have him grabbing that. Drop the weapon. Drop the weapon." Yeah. Like I had to go to Adam. I was like, "This dude thinks you're grabbing your cock, dude. You gotta like." So the performance, Adam's like, "You're down with Geo. Just keep them up above the waist. Keep your hands up here. Keep your hands where I can see them." Yeah,
That's
that's that.
hilarious.
So anyway, fast forward, I went, part of the reason why I went to Southwestern was because it was a Methodist college. I figured I could explore some, while I wasn't ready to commit to seminary, I thought,
Hmm.
I would go to a conservative religious college and maybe find my route or find my path. And I found it in two atheists that were on the debate squad.
Nice.
And we were just best friends, and they didn't care what I believed and I didn't care what they believed, and we respected each other and
Hmm.
found that we lived by a similar moral code despite our differences or whatever. And one of them was the original drummer of O'Phil, and one of them was the original van driver or merch guy for
Oh
O'Phil.
yeah. Nice.
And they were both in my first wedding. They were,
Hmm.
both at my second wedding. That's how old I am. Um, but yeah, so I went on a different track,
Yeah.
whereas I was going to be like leading youth movements. I maybe still am in a different way, or was.
Hmm.
I don't think I am anymore, to be real honest. I mean,
Hmm.
at this point, I'm just surviving and providing for my children, and
Hmm.
getting old, and trying to keep my head above water. I mean,
Sure.
I can't tell you that, like, I I I will not tell you that I operate with some sort of altruism where, like, I'm doing it because it needs to be done and it's the right thing to do. It's what I do well,
Hmm.
and I've figured out a way to make a career out of it and
Yeah.
provide for my family, and that's it. I mean, I do operate with, somewhat of a moral compass, but I'm human and I've made huge mistakes and I've been a horrible person and all those things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we all have, I think.
we
That's
all
part of
have
that's part of
100%.
Especially through our
part of
teens,
being human
20s,
and growing
30s.
up, you
Yeah.
know.
Shit, 40s, man. When I hit
40s.
40s.
40, yeah. But I'm just saying, I think being able to enunciate that, to verbalize that is
Hmm.
part of, being wise. So,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
accepting your faults, accepting that you don't know everything and that you've made the wrong calls several times, I mean, is very important. So,
Hmm.
I accept the applause when I get it. But I also, I try to stay humble about things, and
I'm jumping out on a limb here and saying that your debate homies got you into punk rock and introduced you to uh, the music. Is that kind of how that happened?
so my first exposure that I can recall was seeing Fishbone on Saturday Night Live, and I
Oh,
remember that that
nice.
was
Hmm.
that was my first like impression. I was like, "What is that?" Because he was climbing the speakers, and it was
Uh-huh.
just like I was like, "Oh my God, this guy is amazing." And I remember hearing Fishbone, but I was pretty reliant on my brothers, both my brothers albums, and they were
Oh, okay.
listening to like Yes
Hmm.
and Peter Cetera in Chicago. And
Hmm.
so, but I remember this other debate kid played some Mighty Body Bosstones, and I remember that was kind of cool. So by the time I get to college, yeah, our drummer was the ska punk guy.
Okay.
He was
Chris.
the one, Chris. He
Uh,
most reminds me of you, Jeremy, to be honest
oh
with you,
yeah.
just in that sense,
Nice.
yeah.
What's he
Um,
up to?
he's in Denver.
Okay.
He was working for like Comic-Con, like the Comic-Con Denver deal, and like
Hmm.
doing like uh education stuff and programming in schools. He's always worked for nonprofits. He lived in
Oh, that's
DC
cool.
for a while.
Hmm.
Um, and he worked for the Obama campaign for a while. So
Hmm.
on his reelection. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
That's
he's
cool.
he's uh done what most good debaters do and get into politics, get into nonprofits and make a
Nice.
difference,
Uh-huh.
But yeah, he's the one that got us into it. But honestly, the first set that was played as we actually played one show as a band called Lunger. Uh,
Where'd that name
I
come from? I have
um,
to know.
it came from the movie Tombstone when
Okay.
Val Kilmer says, or someone refers to Doc Holliday as a lunger, someone that has tuberculosis, I
Oh,
believe.
Right.
okay.
Hmm.
Huh.
I'm in
We were,
Huckleberry.
yeah, we were way in Tombstone back then. So, we played the Winfield State Hospital as lunger. That's
Okay.
right. For the patients, not the inmates. And we played with a country band called Blue Steel. And
Okay.
and we were playing like Bob Seger songs, Bob Marley songs, all the Bobs. I mean, we were
Uh-huh.
playing,
Uh-huh.
but we also played Violent Femmes Added Up.
Oh,
That was
Nice.
nice.
Chris's influence. And so after that, we played the Winfield High School as O'Phil. Um, and then we decided to go record a demo, but we only had like one or two original songs. We're like, what should we do? What kind of band should we be? And Chris was like, we should, people love the ska songs. Why don't we just write some ska tunes? All right. And that was it. Up
Nice.
until then, we were writing like my guitar player was really into like Zeppelin and
Hmm.
blues. And so we were writing really sappy, long, slow, dumb love songs and shit.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't until we went out and recorded our demo in this property that Aaron Underwood, his dad owned. So Aaron of the Aaron and whatever show, Austin show, and he's played in a
Mhm.
bunch of bands over the years. But yeah, we went out to that property, recorded a demo, and came back a ska band, and it caught on, and
Hmm.
people thought we were different, so we got a lot of
Mhm.
gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also like went through a ton of members. So as
Hmm.
new guys would move in, we'd kind of change our, we were kind of poppy punk kids or poppy ska kids at first. We
Hmm.
ended up like weird math rock funk punk,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
Yeah. I
yeah.
remember one of the first times I remember seeing you, you were a lot heavier than some of the third wave ska bands, and I definitely could hear the metal influence in what you were doing. It was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And yeah, Ophil is probably one of the reasons I got into the punk rock scene here, just because that you were playing so many shows and bringing so many
Yeah.
bands to town. I mean, in the late '90s, ska scene was just about all there was in Wichita, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's because of you and Nathan Gilson and
Oh,
Stewie
Nathan.
were
Hmm.
bringing bands to town like crazy.
Yeah.
I think Stewie was much more emo influence, but he was still doing stuff with Nathan. I don't know if you ever worked with him or not, bringing bands to
I
town.
I don't
But
remember Stewie, but I remember Nathan well,
mhm. Yeah,
because Nathan also worked at Town West,
uh-huh,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
Hoop
yeah,
Kiosk.
uh-huh,
I always called him Punk Rock Nate,
uh-huh.
and I wasn't ever quite sure if he liked me or not, but
It was hard to say. It
we
was hard to
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah,
I think we're all still wondering that to this day.
yeah.
Like, did he
So
actually like me?
we played the show where he brought Blue Meanies to a place called the Big Fish on St.
Uh,
Francis. Now it's
yeah, yeah.
gone. There's
Mhm.
an apartment there, but yeah.
Yeah.
And
I went to
that's where I first met Steve Turner actually at that
Oh
show,
wow,
and
nice.
he was a little BMX nerd guy running
Yeah.
a
Uh-huh.
BMX zine.
Yep.
So
I'm working
all
at
you all
Blockbuster Video.
yeah,
Oh,
all you
yeah.
hardcore
Uh
motherfuckers
Rock Road.
started out as geeks somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. For
I
sure.
mean, that's through and through I think that's through and through the punk scene, the metal scene, the hip hop scene. I think it's
Mhm.
Oh
all
yeah.
just a bunch of
Yeah,
nerds who,
we're all
For
schmucks when
sure.
we start, and
yeah,
that's what's fun
right.
about it. Hey, if you're really that into yourself right now, then
Oh yeah.
just let me take some. I mean, let me show some pictures from a long time ago. We'll all
Yeah.
just be
Yeah.
humbled,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah,
so
it was weird. Like that was weird. Like a ska uprising in Kansas. I mean,
yeah, it
Mhm.
was really strange.
um,
There was a band in my high school who I know opened for you guys, and I can't remember how many times I saw Phil. It was a lot.
where did you go to school?
Wichita East.
Is it the
Okay,
Skagwanas?
It was the Skagwanas.
you know
Yeah.
I may. Okay. You know what? Can I tell you a story?
What's
Yes,
up?
please.
So, Justin Stockerbrand was the bass player of the Skagwanas.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yep.
Eventually, Justin Stockerbrand was the bass player for O'Phil, probably the longest
Oh, for
standing
real?
bass.
Oh,
I didn't. That's nice. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Justin's girlfriend at the time, her name was Beth,
mhm.
Oh,
and
nuh-uh.
I was like, I remember we played Hyde Park.
Mhm.
Maybe it was a show that Nate put on at Hyde Park with Skagwanas, O'Phil, and someone. Remember Hyde Community over by
Yeah,
C
yeah.
right across from
Mhm.
CSB.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'm there, and in walks the Skagwanas, and I feel like we had played with them once before, but it was like at a Holiday Inn for Wichita State debate
Oh, wow.
squad, by the way.
Probably. They were
Um,
all nerds too, so
oh yeah, well
Mhm.
that's
yeah.
because that's how we got the
Uh-huh.
gig.
Yeah.
But in this particular show, in walks this girl with like a plaid skirt, a black turtleneck, and like docks. And I'm just like, I remember for the better part of my 20s and early 30s, I would always have this scene playing in my mind where I walk into a restaurant and I see a girl and like the song
Mhm.
Tears of a Clown plays. And
Oh,
it's that
okay.
kind of a moment
Nice.
where like she's walking across and I'm just enthralled. I'm married to her now
That's
after
nice. That's
30
awesome.
30 years.
30
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we were friends back then. We lost
Mhm.
touch. We reconnected. It's a long ass story, but we're
Mhm.
married.
Mhm.
So,
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just got married like what, 6 months ago, something like that?
Yeah, October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yes. Yeah.
Congrats. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Skagwanas.
Gabe from
Yeah.
the Skagwanas recorded Spirit of the Stairs' second record.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's cool.
You were playing shows in the 90s. You were out there even more than we were. What are some of your experiences with the River City Skins?
Oh, yeah. They were always, jumping kids after our
Mhm.
shows.
They were going to
Um,
ska shows
oh,
just to
Yeah,
yeah.
well,
jump
yeah,
people.
to
Oh
fight
no,
people.
that was easy
Yeah,
pickings, man. Go to
yeah,
a ska show to
Mhm.
for
beat up
sure.
on some yeah, 100%, man. They were all over the kids at our shows. In fact, when we first played Ozfest, now
Ozfest.
not the Aussie Ozfest, but the
Yeah.
Right.
land of Ozfest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The real
295's
Ozfest.
Ozfest.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a skin in the crowd. There was a small group talking shit when I was playing, and we had enough friends in the crowd that they came up and told me afterwards, like, watch out, be careful. That guy was talking about, talking shit,
Mhm.
wanting to start some shit. So we were made pretty aware of it
Mhm.
early on,
Mhm.
for sure. But I mean, we were Winfield kids, so
Yeah.
it was kind of like we weren't really in tune with the scene, but we were aware of it for
Mhm.
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. So
Mhm.
you never had any like actual
Person,
confrontations with them or anything like that? Oh man.
mm-mm.
Okay.
I mean, I've been in, back in the day when it was Panama Reds.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of them gathered there because
Yeah.
I think they used to book like Screwdriver and like
Hmm.
some hardcore bands that were
Jesus.
very much
Yeah.
along those lines.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
was a little bit of a harbor. So, but I've been in that venue with them before. So,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and nothing ill happened to me. I don't know if that
Yeah,
was
they
just
probably didn't have the
because,
fucking balls.
Yeah.
right. That's what I'm
Paper
saying.
tigers, most of
Yeah,
them.
Mhm.
well, that's the
Yeah.
Yeah.
thing. That's why they picked on young ska
Hmm.
kids. I mean,
Hmm.
Yeah.
I wasn't I don't feel like I'm intimidating, but like at the time I was a larger kid,
Hmm.
like big
Hmm.
beard, huge hair, and
Yeah.
so yeah, no, if you just don't know what to expect. So no, I never got fucked with, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Um,
Boy, I sure did.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
And
Same.
sure you
Jer Bear, I
did.
know you did too. Damn.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they were
yeah.
gonna
That's because you
they were
guys
out to curb
we.
stomp me for a little while.
Right.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's
But
that's easy pickings, man.
Well, I
They, I
was,
mhm.
mean,
I'm 5'10", and at the time, at least, I was like a skinny little, like 5'10", like punk kid. So
Yeah.
I was super easy pickings. I wasn't gonna put up a good fight with anybody. So.
well, I mean, in a weird way, it's kind of like weird recruitment hazing. It's like
Mhm.
trying to make you feel lost. So maybe I don't know,
Mhm.
but or
Yeah.
Well, they
whatever.
did
It's
try to
just
recruit me a couple of times.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so that's why I probably never got approached. I mean, if
Hmm.
there
Hmm.
was anything more sinister, at hand, it would have been like, they would have had to coordinate or whatever. But yeah, no,
Hmm.
I never really got approached by that or
Hmm.
had direct effects of that. So
Hmm.
I'm
How did
thankful
you
for that.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in booking bands like national acts and shit? Is it just through playing shows and wanting people to play with, or what means did you use? I mean, it was pre-internet, so
Hmm.
did you have a zine that you looked through to book bands, or how did that work for you? Because I mean, you were bringing a shit ton of bands to the Crown Bingo Arena. I mean, almost every week there was a ska show to go to.
Yeah.
um between like 95 and 97, I feel like there was a
That
show almost
was
every week.
one of those things that we took for granted in high school. At
Yeah,
least I did. Of just like, oh, there's just shows all the time because magic.
somebody's
I
doing
don't know.
it.
It happens, so I go to them. I don't think we ever thought deeper on like why are there shows in Wichita,
Mhm.
Kansas. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So are you guys familiar with that documentary, Never Mind the Fences or whatever, that talks about the Wichita music scene and everything? That the
Yes, yes,
stuff
yes, yes.
the
It's
stuff
been a
that happened
while, but
around
yeah.
Mm.
the stuff that happened around what was that? The Eagles Lodge.
Eagles Lodge, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're pre Eagles Lodge, right? And
Right.
so
Mhm.
after you're right, we brought a lot of bands to the Crown Big Arena. And when I say we, the reality is we had played Cotillion because we were
Mhm.
asked to play the Cotillion on a show that an independent promoter was doing because our guitar player's girlfriend flirted with him at a different show. And he was an older guy from Tulsa, and he was like enthralled with these two girls that were our hanger-ons. Actually, I shouldn't say hanger-ons because my guitar player is married to her
Mhm.
right now. But um, yeah, so he was like, oh, I'll give these guys a shot, and we asked him to book MU330
Hmm.
and Gals Panic at the
Mhm.
Cotillion, and we
Nice.
would open,
I remember
and
that
it had
show.
a decent turnout
Hmm.
for what the bands cost, and it was
Hmm.
really on all of our back because Phil would never get paid out of those shows. I mean,
Right.
we played them to have the opening spot and
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
make sure that MU330 and whoever else came got paid.
And they're
Well,
from St. Louis, right?
yeah, St. Louis
Okay.
and Gals Panic was from Austin, Texas. So,
Okay.
um, if I have that flyer somewhere, I think it's behind my shelf. I'm sure we charged like $10 at the door to get into the cotillion to see that show.
Something
But
like that.
what we
Hmm.
discovered was the cotillion was costing too much to rent to do an
Hmm.
independent show. So Tony um, Hagar was his name, Tony Hagar. I don't even know if
Okay.
he's alive anymore. We kept in touch for a long time, actually.
Hmm.
But he was the promoter, and he kind of looked to us because he saw us as a young, hungry band
Hmm.
that people were kind of liking. And so he was like, oh, yeah, tell me what we should book. I want to make some money. He was an insurance adjuster and a promoter on the side. So, I mean, he just pretty much listened to us and then got hooked in with some guys from Lawrence Josh Hunt and Jeff Fortier, who are now with Mammoth,
Uh-huh.
pretty big growing promotion company in the Midwest and beyond.
Mhm.
And they started bringing like Typo Negative, Mighty Mighty Bosstones,
Hmm.
ton of players played that bingo hall because it was
Mhm.
like all about cutting down the cost. And I remember the owner of the bingo hall was like, I'm for it. And he built a big ass stage because of course he's for it because
Mhm.
he can run bingo on every other night. Once a month, he's making a cut of the bar, which was
Yeah.
huge. So
Mhm.
so yeah, we had the run of it. And here's the thing, every one of those shows was like 3 to 5 to 600 people. And
Yeah.
then some years go by and ska becomes everyone's fucking joke.
Mhm.
Everyone likes, all the I have a little umbrage with the generation that was right before me because you guys were fucking shit talkers. And there were a bunch of you that were just bad communicators. And we're young and snotty and
Mhm.
disrespectful to,
Uh-huh.
bands that
To
had been there
everybody.
before, to everybody. That was the
Yeah.
ethic. It was punk rock.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you'd talk shit, you'd be nice to our face and talk shit behind our back. And I was like, I've seen a lot of you guys grow up, and unfortunately, I've put a couple of you guys, in the ground. And I've learned to
Yeah.
love you guys, but back then I fucking hated you. I was just like, because we got knocked off our pedestal real fucking quick,
Oh, for
and
real?
Hmm.
oh, for sure. People don't remember that was like after because we were widely popular from like 97 to probably 2001,
Mhm.
2002. And then it was a joke to be in a ska band, and we weren't being talked about, and we were still playing, and we were still struggling to
Mhm.
get noticed, and we were too punk to be liked as ska, and we were too ska to be liked as punk, and we were too hard
Mhm.
to be, melodic, and too melodic to be hardcore,
Hmm.
so we were just a fucking mishmash, and we were lost for a while, and that's when we started writing our best shit. You
Mhm.
know, I remember playing this skate park benefit in Junction City, and I remember just thinking, man, all these fuckers just don't even care. It wasn't the
Yeah.
feel of the 90s where like
Mhm.
I felt like I took care of you guys that were in the crowd. Like I watched out for some of you kids, you
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I
Mhm.
remember there were these two girls, actually one's married to Alex, uh, Kate,
Katie? Mhm.
Katie
Yeah.
Mhm.
and Liz.
Uh-huh.
Can
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
Oh yeah.
bleep out those
Both
Yeah,
of
we know
names so
them.
them.
this bleep out those names so this story stands?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like
Yeah.
they
Actually, I think
followed
we've
it.
mentioned them in other
Okay,
episodes
Yeah.
well,
before.
they
I
you
got
can you can
carjacked with them in my car, so I think we
oh
talked
Yeah.
about
wow.
that.
Well, you can ask them. I don't even know where Liz is, but Katie,
I think
and the weird thing
Liz is
is
in
Al.
Texas, Austin, Texas, I
Yeah. I think
think.
she's in
Okay,
Maybe
Austin now.
Dallas, Austin. Okay.
well, Katie married Alex,
Mhm.
who was a promoter of ours in Oklahoma City. That's how weird that shit is.
Oh, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I keep
and
trying to get him to come on and talk about his scene, but
oh, you
Yeah.
he's
should,
a little
man.
shy.
He won't do it.
I met him in Oklahoma City. But anyway,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Katie and Liz would follow us around,
Mhm.
and they were like 16.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, they followed us to K-State, and we played like on Laramie in a house show, and
Mhm.
then they didn't have a place to crash, and they came back with us to the Rooster Bank house.
Mhm.
And I fucking slept on a chair watching over them because they were in a fucking house full of dudes,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they were 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, and I felt like they were my problem, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because they followed
Hmm.
us around. So I just
Uh-huh.
felt like I needed to keep them safe, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But
Hmm.
you can ask them. That was our relationship. And I remember Liz
Mhm.
getting like punched at the Heidelberg once, and I
Uh-huh.
stopped
I
the
forgot
song
that
and I
place
was
existed.
yeah, and I got that
Jesus.
kid kicked out that like hit her in the face. I mean, but that's how
Good
we
Lord.
felt like a connection to our crowd, and that shit
Yeah.
went away real quick. I
Hmm.
Yeah.
mean, so we were dinosaurs instantly,
Mhm.
and so we wrote some really good music then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Well, I feel like it
my
wasn't just
point,
ska,
my
but punk too. In the early
oh yeah,
2000s, just kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah, for
fizzled
sure.
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And my point being, like, there's that documentary about everything that was happening at Eagles Lodge, which we, oddly enough, were playing the Eagles Lodge, but we were the
Mhm.
grandpas of the scene at like
Hmm.
29,
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and
right.
we were irrelevant, but people remember seeing us at the Eagles Lodge. But then the documentary comes out, and there's not a single mention about the Wichita music scene, and it's all about these shows at the Eagles Lodge,
Hmm.
Hmm.
which all respect, great vibe,
Hmm.
great shows, great times, but a fraction of the number of people
Oh
in
yeah.
seeing those
Hmm.
shows that saw than the bingo hall shows and the
Right.
cotillion shows.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You
And
know
the
what I
Eaton
mean?
shows and paraphernalia shows and house
Dude,
shows.
Right.
Like there were house
uh,
shows in the 90s. You know,
and that was
Howard's.
and that
Yeah.
was the
Oh,
first
yeah.
time I
Howard's. Yeah.
realized that your contribution to this scene is
Hmm.
fleeting.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
are
for sure.
only relevant for what you're doing for them now, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that happened to me again after I sold barley corns because I used
Oh,
to get
really?
called by local bands all the time. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
I was their best friend. But as
Hmm.
soon as I wasn't booking barley corns, it's like, well, I haven't heard from that person in a while. And that's
Hmm.
cool. That's
Yeah.
actually fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except when that national tour comes through the cotillion and they want an opening spot,
Yeah.
you know. But
Right.
I absolutely love to hook up local bands whenever we can. It's just
Hmm.
our hands are tied.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, I mean,
for sure.
it's really interesting the trajectory from like mid '90s to early 2000s and how the scene changed a lot. I mean, I'm not here to say that it was better in the '90s. It was just a
Mm.
different
Yeah.
ethic.
Yeah.
I think you know, like I said, it all came around, and like most of those guys in that scene that back in the day that I was very annoyed with, like
Hmm.
Hmm.
Matt Wiseman or whatever. And he
Hmm.
always gets
Sure.
mad that I mentioned this, but like back then,
Hmm.
I was kind of like, huh, you're kind of a snotty kid, like,
Hmm.
Hmm.
well, I always, wherever I went, was just, like with Dead O, when Dead O asked us to play with them, I gave them the utmost respect because they've been
Uh-huh.
there before. They did it before
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm
Hmm.
into them or not. I mean, they
Right.
deserve my respect.
For sure.
But that's how I was brought up, and that's where my ethic, lies. And that just
Hmm.
wasn't the case. No one was stepping over anything to like shake our hands at that time. We were
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
old,
for
we're kind of
sure.
old. We're kind of old news. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I would,
I,
yeah, like what would you, the like rock and roll um, resurgence in the early 2000s came with
mhm.
a lot of arrogance and attitude as part of the aesthetic.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Um,
I
and
feel
I
like a
think
lot of
that,
the 2000s stuff was they wanted to take like the punk aesthetic, but it was just like over polished corporate nonsense. Like is kind of what it felt like. I feel like the 90s scene was much more, and I could be wrong. I haven't done studies into this or anything. I'm not an expert. So take it with a grain of salt. The 90s felt more DIY.
Mhm.
They were local bands booking shows, bringing people in. It was our scene. And by the 2000s, especially post 9/11, it was, just floppy haired emo bands that were on a corporate label coming through. I could be wrong. I don't know. I was not really a part of, I kind of left the scene at that point. But that's just what I was seeing in the places where I lived, which, I started moving all over the country. And maybe that's why, maybe in Kansas it was still DIY, but where I was living, it just seemed to not have that. I don't know.
yeah.
I think Wichita still had a DIY ethic with everything, but it also had
Hmm.
a different attitude,
Hmm.
much more arrogance. And I wasn't immune to it either. I was probably a dick, inadvertently, just, so I was wrapped up in my own shit.
Hmm.
Um, but, I think and it could have been our age. I don't really know, but
Yeah.
definitely there was a lot of unearned arrogance going on in
Well, you know,
2001 to 2005 or
anxiety.
so.
If
Yeah.
it's anything I learned, that anxiety can present as arrogance.
Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
Um, so that was not something I was equipped with back then. I
Hmm.
took everything very personally.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of the ultimate like, oh no, you don't have to say thanks, but then wishing that you said thanks.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, it could be a lot of that on my part too, but I do believe after getting to know a lot of you guys, that's what it was. I mean,
Mhm.
punk rock and like the sub scenes of sub scenes of sub scenes are there for the alienated and
Mhm.
Hmm.
the victimized, and for to feel empowered and a part of something. So,
Yeah.
it makes sense that, you know, there's some arrogance because you're comfortable and
Yeah,
you
for sure.
feel
Mhm.
protected by your scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, because you were, the kid that was sitting at the wrong lunch table, which was
Yeah.
me.
Well, I, whatever I said back then, I did always look up to you guys. Just like you had staying power, you were always doing shit, and you did make the scene in Wichita what it was
Yeah.
at the time, you know. So,
Hmm.
Yeah, I have a lot
um,
of great memories, man. I mean,
yeah.
a lot of great memories.
Let's fast forward. You brought up a little earlier off camera about Somewhere Fest. So I guess what's your take on it? I've kind of said my piece in a previous episode.
Oh,
Basically, um, I don't mind them. I don't mind the shows. I think it's cool to have
Yeah.
cool bands come to town. I am nervous about exploitation of our city, of our scene, and of artists.
And
I mean,
Jerry,
that's
can you give
basically
a
where I'm at.
quick for those who may
A
not be in the know? Can you
refresher.
give a quick overview of what that is? Somewhere Fest.
Summer Fest is a music festival. This will be the second year. Last year it was called Elsewhere Fest because
Mhm.
Chase Koch, son of one of the Kochs, I don't remember which. It's not important.
Mhm. Mhm.
Charles.
Uh, Charles Koch. He Um, had a music fest here and called it Elsewhere Fest because Kansas is flyover country, I guess. This year he's calling it Somewhere Fest because we are somewhere, I guess, is kind of the story he's telling is that, we are important. We do matter, so it's Somewhere Fest this year. And he's got a lot of Coke money and he's bringing cool bands to town, working with some other people. I'm a bit skeptical of a lot of it just because, I have a distrust of billionaires
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
their exploitation of people. So, but Alex, I think having more involvement in the scene due to running venues and things like that, you might have a little better uh, input into it than I do.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I do or not. I mean, I guess, um, well, for one, I don't know. I mean, like beforehand, let's say before when I was approached
Hmm.
to help get involved, and to be honest with you, up until like May of last year, I was simply going to operate the concessions, like just get the bars up, make sure they operate properly. And I wasn't the first choice, oddly enough, to like help in operations of this thing, but like
Hmm.
was kind of thrown into a position to help out.
Hmm.
And beforehand, I certainly asked myself the same questions, or you know uh, proposed the same worries that you may be. I mean,
Hmm.
not maybe as um, not maybe as I don't know, uh, devilish of a thought as you were like he's going
Hmm.
to exploit us, because
Hmm.
I don't know what he would exploit us for. Cool factor, um,
Um, well, I mean, I
team
worry
cred. I mean,
about,
what like what?
um, well, I'll start off with the rumor I heard, which has been since been debunked, but I heard a rumor he was going to buy the strip mall that Kirby's is in. Um,
I love
and
that.
and that scared me because what happens if Kirby's isn't Kirby's anymore because
Oh
it's not
no!
making him enough
To
money
be honest
or
with
whatever.
you, here's what's fucked up. To be honest
Mhm.
with you, if for some miraculous reason, he would wake up and want to own that strip mall, um, I think he would be the only one that would give consideration to the fact that Kirby's is there, but no one's gonna fucking believe it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? So I
Hmm.
mean, before I got involved, I didn't really know too much. I haven't paid too much attention
Hmm.
to Coke Industries. I have a lot of friends that worked at Coke Industries.
Hmm.
I've definitely been a part of elections in which like the birth of the anti-Coke kind of movement happened, and
Hmm.
it was around Al Gore,
Hmm.
and some of the Dems around that time. And I just have to ask to most of us that buy into the rhetoric, what, if if we believe that people in power are there to just sway us and do their bidding, why do we buy into that? Because that was certainly a political um, tool at the time to come down on the Cokes or whatever the case may be. I mean, the bottom line is that people with money don't trust the government to effectively execute any task efficiently. And I think it's fair to say that the government hasn't done anyone's favors in that, Despite that, I still believe in pro social programs
Hmm.
that, um, are funded by the feds that, serve the people. So, but, I had to ask myself, what does this mean, me taking this contract? Because I'm not an official employee, I'm a contractor.
Hmm.
What does it mean? Because I've been a part of the scene for so long, and actually, I'm a venue owner. Well, it means that I think it's important that I be there, actually. I think it's important that I'm watching what's happening and making sure things are done right.
Hmm.
Um, it's a lot of attention on our city, and
Hmm.
someone's investing a lot of money that's going into the pockets of artists, local
Hmm.
artists, creating jobs. I don't see a lot of bad in that.
Hmm.
I have a hard time understanding why his efforts on this front, which personally I know because I've been promoting music in this town and losing money in this town for many years,
Hmm.
there's no financial gain. So actually he's suited pretty well for this task because
Hmm.
money isn't his motive.
Right.
I honestly believe he loves music. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I can tell by the way he talks, he loves music.
Okay.
So why can't I just relate to him in that?
Sure.
I'm not necessarily a big jam band fan, but he sure is passionate about it.
Uh-huh.
And I respect people that are passionate about things. That's why I booked so many bluegrass bands over the years. You
Hmm.
won't find a bluegrass. Well, you'll find maybe one or two bluegrass CDs in my collection that I would actually pop in. See, I'm
Uh-huh.
saying CDs as if I
Right.
still have a CD player, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. I got you.
I mean, I will listen to some Split Lip and I will listen to some
Hmm.
Carrie Nation
Hmm.
from time to time because there's some of their songs that really move me.
Yeah.
Because they have a show of emotion and dedication and love that comes through in
Hmm.
the music.
For sure.
You know, I may not agree with all the semantics or the way maybe he's come into money, but I
Hmm.
kind of respect throwing it at the local music and art scene. And I sure as hell will be there to help try to efficiently execute it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And I see no negative in that. I understand people's trepidation, but the fact that it got to a fevered pitch and it was rumored that he was going to buy the strip mall that Kirby's in, and I wouldn't know, to be honest with you. It's not like I'm pals with him. We don't
Hmm.
have a daily conversation. These are my observations.
Hmm.
And I will say, if it's one thing I'll brag about,
Hmm.
it's that I think I have a good feel about people. Like, I think if
Okay.
it's one strength that I have, it's actually identifying people for the job or people,
Hmm.
in general, like whether they're trustworthy. I'm not going to sit here and wax poetic. I don't know him well enough.
Hmm.
I don't really know his intentions, so I'm not going to judge him on his father's actions or the situation he's in. And I don't really know that too much about his father's actions, to be honest
Hmm.
with you. I know that Coke is a very large company and they make a lot of money, and I
Hmm.
know that there's a lot of particular arguments surrounding, you know, um, pacts that they support, but I would think that you or I in the same position, if we had this same kind of money, we would fund people that we believe in and agree with politically. So, and I know you would, Jeremy. I know for a fact that if you were suddenly wealthy, you would invest it in every way you can to push your ideology forward. So I find that to be occurring in the natural order of things, but in this order of things, it has to
Mhm.
do with music.
Mhm.
And I've seen local artists get work for shit that they never got paid for,
Mhm.
and a whole group of people from every walk of life trying to put this festival together.
Mhm.
Um, and last year I walked away feeling really good about it.
Mhm.
This year it's always hard to do it, second time around and trying to gain efficiencies and everything like that. But
Mhm.
I don't see a devious underlying um like mission there, like I
Mhm.
haven't got any heebie-jeebies about like the core purpose of it, other than to put Wichita on the map. And I mean,
Sure.
you can feel a little way about something with that because
Mhm.
most of us have
Well,
been, duck diving in the scene for a long time and we feel
mhm.
like, oh shit, like he got interested and all of a sudden he's making Wichita on that. Well, fuck it, dude. We live here. Let him put it on.
Yeah.
I don't see that's the thing is I don't care. It doesn't have to be me. If
Mhm.
if we're known for an EDM hip hop scene, I mean, I'm going to be staying home a lot. I mean, like, unless it's Soldier Boy at the cotillion, but
Sure. Um,
unless it's classic rap, I'm not really,
right.
that enthralled. But what's good for like my compatriots is good for me, man. And plus, I'm
Mhm.
49. It's
Right. Sure.
probably I'd really like to leave things better than I found them.
Yeah.
I hope we can
Um,
get there, and I have some worries around along the
mhm.
way, but I really I mean and I'll shut up here for a second. You guys come at me as hard as you can about this. I mean, challenge me. I really do.
Mhm.
I will make time for this because I really want to be challenged on this.
Okay.
Tell me your worst nightmare about this situation.
So, I look at South by Southwest. When I was in my early 20s, it was a dream to go play South by Southwest. I never got to do it. I think Spirit of the Stairs would have done really well there. I look at it
Right.
now and I want no fucking part of it. It looks like a fucking disaster. So that I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but like that's like a cautionary thing for me. And maybe that's just me being like precious about my scene, and it's not even my scene anymore because I hardly ever go out. So what ownership do I actually have of it? But another thing, and this also taking ownership of something that's not really mine anymore. I remember when Adam first came to town. I don't remember who he was with, but they were doing like First Fridays or something like that,
Jeremy.
and it was
Jeremy.
yeah, and it was like some pay to play bullshit. And like that's a concern that I have where you're going to ask a band to pay to play a venue, and that's fucked up. I can't stand behind that.
Hmm.
And I don't know that Chase wants to do that or anything like that, but I know that First Fridays thing, some carpetbagger came to town and was trying to pull some pay to play bullshit.
Hmm.
That's what I heard
Well,
at the time. That was probably 2007 or 8, right when I was like exiting, like my exit of the scene because I had a family and wasn't playing shows anymore. So that's one of my concerns is gatekeeping who gets to play venues
fair.
and access to venues. That is a big concern. But if it comes to it, we'll just have house shows again. And I say we, but they're punk rock kids will find a place to play shows. I think it would be better for them to have a place to do it, but house shows are great too. And then gentrification. I mean, I Commerce Street. Um, and maybe the people that own buildings on Commerce Street now are happier with a revitalized downtown. But it kind of looks ugly to me. Like I hate what happened in Nasker Park. I understand concerns about the unhoused and safety. But there, in my mind, there are better answers than destroying a beautiful park to put in fucking turf. Um, you know, just things like that. Those are the concerns I have. And maybe I'm just, like I said, maybe I'm just being precious about a scene that used to be and isn't anymore. But that those are my worries. I'm not worried about bands coming to town, people coming to town, shit like that. I'm and maybe yeah, maybe I'm just being precious about it. And I am very skeptical of ultra wealthy people.
Yes.
Why?
And my biggest problem with the Kochs is basically the Heritage Foundation. I mean, that's their pet, and that's who did Project 2025. Or that's a Heritage Foundation baby right there, and that's pretty fucking evil to me.
Mhm.
And I don't know
Yeah.
how much Koch actually involved himself in that, but that's his money that funded it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, that's a lot. I like that you make the self-realization that you're being precious about it because you are being a
Mhm.
little precious about it. But that is your nature,
Yeah.
you know. You know, the half
Mhm.
shirts that you wore in the early 2000s were precious.
Yeah.
But I'm
I'm
saying
a
like
little
that's the
princess.
deal. No, that's the deal though. I feel like that is the feeling that I just described being a band that was getting outgrown by the younger scene.
Hmm.
I was feeling precious about
Hmm.
my stake in where we were, and and
Hmm.
something became uncomfortable to me because it didn't quite relate to me. That's what every scene is. We
Hmm.
belong. Oh, wait, there's too many people liking it. Suddenly we don't belong. It was our little thing, but
Hmm.
now it's something big and it's a shit show. Well, it's a shit show to you. It's totally 10 times more accessible to others.
Hmm.
So like South by, the problem is nothing is going to remain
Right.
in a tiny little square box forever, you know.
Hmm.
And I saw this after, owning Kirby's for like 5 years. The place that I thought it was, those people move on, new people move
Hmm.
in, different things happen. And then some pe old people come back and say, this isn't the same Kirby's it was. Well, of course, you've been
Right.
fucking gone. If you wanted it to be the same Kirby's, keep coming back and make
Right.
it that Kirby's. But until
Hmm.
you tell me otherwise, fuck you, I'm selling beer, you
Hmm.
know? And so it is a little bit of that.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I think that's just the nature of a scene growing and maybe flourishing or getting too big for its britches or whatever the case may
Hmm.
be. But it's almost inevitable, right? Growth.
Yeah.
And growth means both like your scene is growing this way and you're growing this way. This is Jeremy, the dad and the on the board, and this
Hmm.
is Jeremy's scene that everyone left that scene and went off and
Hmm.
did different things. So, we feel alienated because we're not as well involved as we used to be. Otherwise, the scene would be more about what we, make it. But
Hmm.
it's just going to have to change. Now, in terms of gatekeeping, I will say I know what you're saying. I think that there can be some debate around that. I don't get a greater sense that they're trying to close off and block anyone from any access. I feel like they have a mission of the kind of music they want to promote, and they so happen to choose music that is not very much recognized in this scene. So like whereas some more country roots, rock roots, and everything like that has been played a lot. Like hip hop shows and EDM shows are not plentiful in this town.
Yeah.
Like as in other cities. So if they want to develop that scene, I'm all for it. I don't know that that necessarily means that it closes off other scenes, but the bottom line is everyone that takes umbrage, go out to a fucking show. I
Yeah.
mean, you cannot complain from your seat at home if you don't support the scene currently,
Hmm.
because you're bitching about a millionaire from behind a billionaire, sorry, from behind a keyboard.
Mhm.
And not supporting your scene. Not you, Jeremy,
Right. I
because
know what you're
you
saying.
know what I mean? I'm saying
Mhm.
figuratively.
Yeah, yeah.
So like that's the deal. Like if we want to make a change, and maybe for every action there's an opposite reaction, and you're right. If that does happen, if there's some gatekeepiness that goes on there, then the natural order of things is a beautiful undercurrent, a
Hmm.
beautiful and strong, powerful scene that uprises to speak against it. And that
Hmm.
is the fucking balance of life, bro.
Yeah.
And for every fucking, Trump, there was like, I just, you're probably not an Obama fan, but I loved him. So,
Hmm.
I miss hearing him speak every time I hear this dude speak, but, it is what it is.
Hmm.
But I know there was inherent problems that a lot of people have with Obama, so I don't want to even like step on that kitty cat. But
My
you know what
wife
I'm
is a
saying?
huge fan, so.
Okay, well, I think it was a beautiful time. I
Mhm.
really, it was a very, very cool moment, in my opinion, as a man of color, that to see,
Mhm. No, I
Obama
mean,
do that. So
the
At the time, I'll admit, at the time, I
when
was
he
a
won the
huge
election, I
fan.
cried
Yeah, I was a
because
huge
I
fan.
never thought it would
Yeah.
happen. It was
Hmm.
definitely a powerful moment when he won the election the first time.
well,
Hmm.
but then the thing is, and I know people were disappointed, in some of his actions, but again, like I would imagine some people are disappointed in my activity and involvement in this thing, but
Hmm.
I don't recall Adam doing a pay to play thing, when he first came, so I won't say
Hmm.
anything to that. Um, I know Adam pretty well.
Hmm.
I think he means well in general and is trying to
Hmm.
create good things. So
Yeah,
I'm not holding anything against him, but
I don't have any beef with Adam at all. I don't know him very well, but he seems like a chill guy to me. I don't like I only brought him up because it was the guy he was working with. From what I remember of the time, it was that other guy, Jeremy, I guess was his
oh,
name. I remember Jared.
Jared.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, he was a piano
Um
player.
mm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
They were
remember
trying to do a lot of rock.
he came up to me at Lucky's. I was sitting with Spirit of the Stairs. We were at Lucky's, I think maybe after practice or something like that. He came up to us and was talking about his big plans, and it was like it sounded like pay to play scheme to me, and I was like, "The
Yeah,
fuck out of here, coming into our scene
Hmm.
doing this shit."
yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have that experience, but it's been a long time too. Maybe I did have that
yeah,
experience and I
I
stepped
mean it's
away.
almost 20 years ago, man.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I don't get the sense that that could happen. I could be completely wrong, dude. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, um, but it's no different than like Temple Live being here with some investors from out of town,
Yeah.
or that guy that, that was fired from Temple and went and bought Crown. Um, and is not
Hmm.
Crown. Yeah, yes, Crown. And is talking about tearing it down. I mean,
Yeah. What the
there you
fuck?
have. Yeah, why is anyone not pissed off and going and support Temple when we're boycotting, Chase Koch, who grew up here, whose family has a multi-billion-dollar company here, and whose family has given a ton of money to services that we as Wichitans have benefited from,
Mhm.
like in the arts and like libraries and supporting programs and scholarships, but like we let a fucking investor from out of town waltz in and buy the Scottish Rite Temple and Crown and threaten to tear it down and come on. What are we talking
Yeah.
about?
Nah,
I mean,
those are valid fucking points, man.
yeah, we only got pissed when all of a sudden it was like, give me a 2000 cap at Crown or I'll tear it down and create condos. I was like, okay, baby, go for it. I'm sure Tariff City is going to really help you out building a,
Right.
multi-level megaplex at this point. So,
Which is exactly what Wichita needs, another empty fucking apartment
uh,
building.
I don't know. I
Hmm.
gotta feel like it's all bluster, but
Hmm.
maybe he really wants to do it. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying?
That
It's
fucking
just
sucks. Yeah.
I
No,
feel
you're
like
right.
the Cokes are easy targets, but one thing no one is and one thing no one is like talking about is, do you really know what Chase's politics are? I don't. I mean,
No.
do you? No. So what are we talking
No.
about? Are we
I
making
didn't
Yeah.
even know who he
assumptions?
was until a few weeks
Right.
ago
I think we're making
because
assumptions here,
I left
right?
Wichita a really long time ago. So,
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm telling you, like, we're making assumptions. I don't know. And I
Mhm.
mean,
Hmm.
like, I'm not my father's, I will respect some lessons my father taught me, but I probably have a completely different ideology. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Hmm.
that he does or doesn't, but
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
sure as
No,
hell
yeah,
don't
yeah.
feel like
I
I'm
think
equipped to guess.
in general, the thing, and this isn't about Chase Cook specifically because I don't know anything about him, but when we see similar situations in other places I've lived, and I live in Chicago now, so we see this where a wealthy billionaire comes in and starts dumping money into an art scene or a museum or to build up a new neighborhood. And Jerry, you're right, gentrification happens very quickly. And two, yeah, the gatekeeping. I don't know what Chase Coke is doing. I haven't looked into it, so I'm not going to comment on it. But you do get a lot of people when they have are used to having a lot of money and a lot of power. They want to make all the calls. They don't even listen to a lot of times. They don't even listen to the experts, the people who've been around a while who are trying to advise them and go, "Well, maybe we should do this." They go, "Yeah, but I'm the money guy, so I make all the decisions." And I don't know,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about Chase Cook specifically. I'm just saying, in general, this is what we're seeing a lot right now. And the billionaire who is our co-president is making calls based on no information
Oh,
and
sure.
is incurious, unwilling to learn, unwilling to listen to expertise, and is just making cuts willy-nilly all over the place.
Well,
And this is what I worry about when billionaires
well,
get involved in things.
I can tell you right now that that's not happening. I mean, like
Hmm.
there, in terms of people you would respect in the scene,
Hmm.
with the most experience of like putting on shows and art and all those things, like from the production, like sound production guy who's also a firefighter in here in town that's done large
Hmm.
productions. You know, uh, myself and my GM from the Cotillion, who've been part of the music scene for a long time, the Hard Keys, who are at the
Mhm.
helm, who are really actually crafting, a lot of this along with. I mean, it's not like top down like everyone's worried about it. I mean, there's a bunch
Hmm.
of voices. Kristen Beal from Harvester,
Mhm.
I mean, there's a ton of buy-in from the entire team on what
Hmm.
should happen, what can happen. Every meeting's, good iterations of safety and protocol and what's best. It's very well thought through and very, very much a team effort. There's not, I mean, but at the same point, it's not like I'm going to go in there and say, you know what? There should be some bluegrass if we want to sell tickets because that's not the
Mhm.
Right.
mission. See,
Right.
Right.
I
Yeah.
got an assignment and I
Hmm.
feel like I don't disagree with assignment. Like if it was like, hey, Alex, we need you to operate this situation in which we're gonna like really stick it to a certain subsect of people. No, I mean that's not
Hmm.
it. It's
Mhm.
it's like, hey, we're gonna put on a big music festival. Hey, we're gonna do these things in efforts to promote music.
Hmm.
Uh, will you lend your expertise? What? Yeah, why wouldn't I?
Mhm.
Because someone's asking me to
Mhm.
lend my expertise.
Hmm.
So that means that by default they are listening to the experts. They do
And
value
that's
people with
good.
that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that something bad couldn't happen.
Right.
I'm not saying that there couldn't be some level of gatekeeping, but I guess
Sure.
you know what? You know what? I almost promise you that gatekeeping doesn't come from the top. I think that gatekeeping comes from someone like a couple rungs down that feels empowered by
Mhm.
the attention and importance of their voice, and they're the ones that start to gatekeep. That's how I
Yeah.
always see it. It's not necessarily the billionaire, but maybe the
Mm.
hangers on potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I could certainly if I had the druthers and wasn't really worn out by my 49 years, be like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, I can like really,
Yeah.
make this
Sure.
work for me,
Uh-huh.
sway some influence around. I don't give two
Mhm.
shits, dude. My job,
Yeah.
Yeah.
my job is very simple, and it's to produce a safe and fun music festival,
Hmm.
which
Mhm.
I mean, at the core is something I love to. I love to entertain people. I
Yeah.
Hmm.
love people having a good time. So
Mhm.
if that's the goal, if that's the task, I'm down,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I sit with it.
Yeah.
I do I do get you. I do get your feelings on it. I do understand how, the change can like alienate you and make you feel like it's
Hmm.
it's not yours anymore, and
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
can be scary and you can be suspicious of it. But I generally don't see that happening. I can get frustrated with the process of what's going
Mhm.
on,
Hmm.
just in the because of course, as you do stuff that's bigger, but this has already happened to me as a business owner. I used to be about like getting in a van and going and playing music with my friends and jumping on the internet and promoting my band.
Yeah.
Now I'm a fucking bean counter. People are like, dude, did you meet that act? I was like, fuck no, man. I was pissed off at the numbers. Do I really want to go shake hands with someone that lost me $15,000? No.
Yeah.
Nah. No. And honestly, I've met my heroes and they've disappointed me. So I don't really
Right.
I
For
try
sure.
to like keep
Never
that
meet your
distance.
heroes.
Mm-mm.
Never meet your
I
heroes.
did Frank Black walked up and I didn't even know who he was. I was talking to his tour manager and I was like, that was the only time I was a little starstruck.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
Just because he was so like understated when he walked up. But
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and for all the horror stories I heard about the Pixies, that was a really great show and they loved the Cotillions. So it was a
Nice.
proud
Good.
moment.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't make it.
oh,
How
man,
was
you missed out.
how was Dinosaur Jr.?
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was wait, that wasn't that show. Dinosaur Jr. opened for someone at the
Helmet?
league, right?
No, not Helmet. It was
Helmet.
fucking not Helmet. Was it? No, it was Clutch.
Oh, damn.
Yes. Dinosaur Jr. at Clutch, right?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What year was that?
That was
2
like
years
2
ago?
years ago.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, right. Some
Jesus.
fucking 90s shit right there.
I know. You're just mentioning a bunch of 90s bands. I'm like, wait,
Right.
what year was this? I've seen all
Yeah.
those bands, but not recently.
No, I'm sure that, if someone was, I'm sure, anytime you say stuff like this, someone's going to be out there and saying, yeah, well, he's a sellout.
Hey man, thanks for talking about Somewhere Fest. That was a good discussion.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm cavalier about it.
Nah,
I'm
man.
very
And-
old and I just kind of operate with a little, I don't know, you get older, maybe you get a little bit more. I've certainly got a little bit more moderate as I've gotten older, but
Not
I'm still, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying though, like
Yeah, yeah.
in general,
Yeah.
but like not to the point that I'm, I definitely will stand up for the disadvantage and
For sure. Yeah.
I definitely believe it's important to recognize people's desires to be called what they want to be called gender-wise or whatever. I'm just old and I'll make mistakes. I just want some
Well, and
forgiveness.
that's we should give grace to people and understand intent
Yeah, it's hard
versus
because
just policing language. Like I think
Right.
I think it's important to try in earnest, but also understand intent. If somebody's
Yeah.
trying and
Well,
means
that that comes with communication skills, which,
Yeah.
by the way, we've let go of quite a bit by a lot of electronic communication. So it makes sense that we don't have the patience for that, and the nuances involved in speech rather than direct
Yeah.
communication via text.
All right, one more official question, and then we'll probably let you go. Being in the scene in the 90s, I don't know, you're in the ska scene, so maybe you are or are not familiar with the shit split. Do you know what the shit split is? The Filth Blats split LP from 1994. They're
I'm
East
not.
Bay bands.
I'm not.
All right, we ask everybody who is a guest which side of the split they prefer, or if they're a poser. So it sounds like you're a poser.
I'm a poser. I could have told you that from the jump. I told you I was a theater kid that started singing ska songs. Of course I'm a poser.
Here's the rub, though. Everybody's a poser.
True.
Yeah.
True fact.
And the people who say they're not posers, they're the biggest posers of them all.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I could have told you that at the start of this thing.
I think what are we up to, Nick? 3 posers or 4?
Yeah.
Three?
I think 4 posers, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And then
Congratulations.
a lot of people
Yeah.
incorrectly saying filth when the real answer is blast.
I mean, those are kind of posers too.
Yeah, right.
Now I'm going to have to go check it out. I have to educate myself so I'm never caught in that position again.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let us
Actually,
let us-
that's the act of a true poser.
There you go.
Let us know which side you
Yeah,
prefer.
if
Yeah.
you go listen to the shit split, it's
Hmm.
everywhere.
It's on
All streaming
YouTube.
services,
Yeah.
YouTube. Let
Hmm.
us know what you prefer.
Okay.
Follow up. And hey, thanks for spending some time with us and answering questions and the discussion about Somewhere Fest. I think was really good.
Hmm.
You haven't completely changed my mind, but you've definitely given me stuff to think about and
Oh yeah.
consider. And
Hmm.
maybe I shouldn't be such a harsh critic of it if it
I think you
is
should. I think it's
helping out
entirely
our
you're right, man.
city.
I think it takes
Hmm.
both types to keep everything in
Yeah.
check. So like if
Yeah.
you're
Well,
concerned about it, I care. So I should take more
yeah.
concern about what I'm doing. You know, so like
Hmm.
cool, man.
Hmm.
I think it's all
No, for
good.
sure. I think that was a good
Hmm.
discussion. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. And keep doing what you're doing. It's fucking rad. I appreciate your hard work, even if it is to take care of your family. It's made a difference in the community for sure. I feel like it has.
Well, I'm
Um,
very honored that that's the case. It doesn't. It's not. I wasn't trying to say that to be flippant or like I don't
mm,
care. It's just that I don't want to.
no, I know.
I don't want to be a poser. You know,
Right,
and
there
be
you go.
like, you know what I mean. I don't want to be like,
Nobody wants to
I'm
be a
doing this
poser.
for
Yeah.
you. I'm doing this for
Do-
you, and this is the
Doing it
thanks
for
I
street
get.
cred.
Right.
Punk points.
Yeah. Punk points. No, I appreciate that. No, it doesn't fall on deaf ears for sure. It's just sometimes it's hard to negotiate in my mind. But yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
um, I'm happy with the work I've done and stuff I've accomplished. It's been fun. I'm glad people have enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
continue to
And
do so. Deal.
yeah, personal thanks for me for doing so much in the scene in the 90s because that's what I think you guys might have been one of the first bands I saw live that wasn't either the Monkees or a metal band. So that was, and
I
my high school
mean,
girlfriend dragged me to the show, and I was like, what are we going to?" Because she knew who you guys were. Uh,
yeah.
so I'm glad that I got to go to as many shows as I did. And I went to a bunch of your shows, bunch of punk shows, bunch of other ska shows, and a bunch of metal shows.
If I could, Ophil would ride again, but
Hmm.
just don't see it happening.
I mean that's what bands do. The bands from the '90s. This is the year
Yeah.
that they're starting to like
Dude,
get back together.
I know.
kids love the 90s.
Yeah.
It already surpassed this though with Creed,
Oh.
Shit. Yeah.
I hated Creed so much, but I actually we play a Creed song in the cover band and it's kind of fun. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
nice. I I honestly I get Creed and Nickelback and all those bands mixed up. So I probably couldn't pick a Creed song out of a lineup.
Well, consider
Same.
yourself cool as shit.
Or just too lazy to look it up.
Well, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Cool.
Well, thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night. Take it easy.
All right,
All right.
later.
All right.
Later.
Bye. My wife suggested we do a bit about who is more punk. And I think that's a really good idea. My wife is a smart lady. So I noticed when Alex brought his Jordan basketball card out,
Yeah.
and you were talking about your bobblehead there.
Yeah,
So
George Brett.
who is more punk, Michael Jordan or George Brett?
Oh, Michael Jordan for sure. And not because he's particularly punk, but George Brett is so unpunk that it makes Michael Jordan more punk. So,
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan is like an infamous asshole.
yep.
So that I suppose
Hey,
that gives him
George Brett is too.
Oh no, I don't know much about either of them to be honest.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure everybody knows who Michael Jordan is. George Brett played for the Kansas City Royals baseball team.
Was he a pitcher?
No, he
Oh.
was what was he? Shortstop, I think.
Okay, I don't know.
But yeah, he was mostly known for his batting average, if memory serves.
Okay.
I'm digging back in my memories to the '80s at this point. But yeah, and Johnny, let me know. Let me look up George Brett's stats. I think he played shortstop, maybe second base. It was somewhere over there.
Okay.
But he was very good at the plate, and he played from late '70s to like the early mid '90s. So that kind of era of the Kansas City Royals. And he was my favorite baseball player when I was a kid
Why?
because I was a kid, and he was the popular one on the team that was
from Kansas City.
that was geographically closest to where I lived. So
Right.
of course
Nice.
he was
Yeah.
my favorite. Yeah,
That tracks.
that tracks.
So why is he less punk than Michael Jordan?
Um, he is infamously very conservative. Let's put
Ah,
it that way.
yeah.
Very conservative. And I don't know how conservative Michael Jordan is. I'm sure he is somewhat conservative, being that he's very wealthy, but I don't think that he's socially conservative. Probably
Mm,
not.
yeah,
Probably
probably
not.
not.
George Brett is. George Brett is both fiscally and socially conservative.
Is George Brett still alive?
Yes, he is. He has a
Okay.
steakhouse in Kansas City, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And Michael
Well, he
Jordan
could,
also has a steakhouse in Chicago.
not in
So,
Kansas City.
no, not in Kansas City, though. I think there's one at like a random airport in like Baltimore or somewhere. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe North Carolina. He's from North Carolina, so
Yeah,
maybe
right.
that makes more
Does
sense.
does George Brett work there?
At the steakhouse
Uh-huh.
in Kansas City or the one in North Carolina?
Either, any of them.
Okay.
Does he work at his steakhouse or barbecue place or whatever it
I
is?
doubt it. I doubt he has much of anything to do with it other than putting his name on it. Though
That's
I
not very
have
punk
not
rock.
researched that. So, but same thing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan probably doesn't have a lot to do with his steakhouse. Yeah,
Why?
because I don't know. You know what? I'll ask.
They should.
I'll ask my wife
if-
about that. She's a big like Chicago foodie, so I'll ask her. She actually would probably know
Is it
stuff like that. So
is it good food?
I've never been to either.
Is it baseball themed?
It is all steaks, both of them. So they both just have steakhouses, and
Baseball themed steakhouses? Because Michael Jordan played baseball too.
he did for the Chicago White Sox. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So
He
they're
was not
baseball
very good.
themed?
yeah, yeah.
They
I
are?
think his would probably be more basketball themed, probably.
Oh.
Though I have not actually been there. I'm sure there's some White Sox stuff up though, which would be great because it is Chicago.
I
And the
prefer
White
black
Sox
socks myself.
our
That
team.
goes better with my clothes.
Well, Black Sox was the White Sox scandal. So, but we can get more into that at a different time. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Which establishment do you think is more punk rock?
Ooh, I'm gonna say
If I wore my battle vest into both restaurants, where would I be more at home?
probably Michael Jordan Steakhouse because it is in downtown Chicago, and I think George Brett Steakhouse is probably in Johnson County. So, anyone not familiar with Johnson County, Kansas, it is the most suburban place that ever suburbaned. So
Yeah. So that's not very punk. at
that's
all.
not very punk. No, although downtown Chicago is very wealthy, so that's also not
Yeah.
very punk. But
That's not very punk.
it is.
It's a
it is
city, though.
It is a city, and it's a short train ride away from more affordable places. So, and there's a train, so that's more punk than having to walk
Drive.
out to a giant parking lot and then drive, around multiple cul-de-sacs to only go half a mile, but it took you 20 minutes to go half a mile because you have to take these weird roundabout cul-de-sacs and nothing goes in a straight line or goes through to any other streets. Don't move there if you don't live there already. And if you do live there already, move somewhere else. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
Move
There's even
move to
other places.
Wichita.
Move to Wichita. Move to fucking Topeka. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
man. It's better. Better than Johnson County.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There you go. Cheaper, too. A lot cheaper.
There you
You
go.
want to be a homeowner, you can still afford it in Topeka and almost nowhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Salina, maybe.
Salina. No, Salina's getting kind of expensive now.
Is it?
Yeah. Topeka's still
Dang.
cheap, though. Yeah.
Oswego?
Expensive, probably.
Yeah.
Ottawa.
With a
cheap.
name like that.
Yeah.
With a name like Oswego.
Yeah. Ottawa's cheap, though. Ottawa, Kansas, not Canada. I imagine Ottawa, Canada is probably not cheap, but it is on the border of Quebec.
Quebec.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, our French Canadian audience. I apologize to all one of maybe. Canadian. We've had one download from Quebec. I think it was in Quebec City. So thank you,
Yeah.
whoever that
Thanks.
was. Yeah.
Thanks, French Canadian.
Yeah. That's super awesome. Keep downloading.
We love French Canadians here.
I've never been to that particular province. I've been very close.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
it with my eyes, but I've never actually set foot in it. You don't remember that one line from that one Simpsons episode from 30 years ago?
We just captured a Twitch on camera and on audio. So be sure and leave that in. I would like to introduce our listeners and viewers to my Twitch. It just went muh. So there you go.
It is not to be confused with the streaming service Twitch.
No. An actual Twitch, like a full body spasm that makes me go muh.
Yeah.
And my cat is in here rummaging through things.
Yeah.
That's cool. I better go to bed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I probably should too. I still have to take my dog out.
Yeah.
All right.
I have to get up at 5 and work out.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, don't forget to go to our website, www.prairiepunkpress.com. You can find all of our links there, all of our socials there, except X Twitter, because we don't have that anymore.
Fuck Elon Musk.
Fuck Elon Musk. Delete your Twitter, X, whatever.
Whatever you do, don't throw bricks at Teslas.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it.
We do not advocate for breaking the law at all.
No.
So
never.
So don't do it.
Bye.
Bye.